Sabbath, everyone.
Amen.
Happy Sabbath, everyone.
Amen.
Right, I know it's hard, but today is a very special day, right?
Amen.
As I'm standing here today, this week has been a hectic week for me. I just found myself in the devil was just threw me in a very dark cave. And I was so confused with what I need to say today. I had one sermon prepared, and this morning I touched on another because it was what I was feeling in that moment. But as I sat here, I just said, you know what, let me just stick to the original plan. I think that will work better. Let me not deal with my feelings. So I went back. The songs that are there were for the second sermon. So I hadn't thought of the songs for the first sermon that I prepared. But just to give you just a quick rush through what I had secondly prepared, I was going to talk about John 20, verse 1 to 9, Jesus' resurrection and what transpired, what it means for us, what the cross means, as well as what an empty tomb, us rejoicing in an empty tomb means for us as Christians, and what the linen that was found folded in the tomb means to us. So basically, the linen that was folded in the tomb when Jesus woke up, it shows that he keeps his promise of waking up, and the folded linen represents our troubles that Jesus takes care of. When he takes us out of our troubles, it doesn't look like we were in trouble at all because he makes sure everything is neatly folded. So going back to my original sermon, that we're going to find it in Genesis 39. Brother Douglas, can you kindly read for me Genesis 39 start from verse 7 up until verse 18. So I don't know how to title my sermon because remember I abandoned it. But whilst we are at that, waiting for Brother Douglas to read for us, we all go through temptations, and sometimes we cannot outplay temptations, we cannot outgrow temptations. The only thing we need to do is to ask God for the strength to get us through, to resist and refuse temptation. Brother Douglas, can you read for us, please?
Genesis chapter 39, verse 7 through
verse 7 to 18.
To 18, thank you. Verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to mine hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness, and sin against God? And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business. And there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment with her hand, and fled, and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and was fled forth, and she called unto the men of her house, and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled, and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until the Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. Verse 19.
Thank you very much. May the good Lord bless the reading of His word. So, the first thing that stood out for me when I read this was his refusal to do the bid of Potiphar's wife. So now, not only did Joseph not want to transgress against Potiphar and the nation of Israel, he didn't want to transgress against God. So he didn't want to disappoint God, which is a good thing. So as a Christian, I've come to understand that you cannot have flexible ethics. Yes, you can have flexible preferences, but you cannot have flexible ethics. You must be rigid and principled in your conviction when it comes to God. So that whenever you are in trouble, you don't come to conclusion about the right thing to do based on the situation that in. That means that whatever it is that you decide in the situation that you are in should be pre-arranged, should be predetermined, and should be pre-decided before you get into it. So that you don't decide to say, you don't get to contemplate on the right thing to do based on the circumstances that emerge in your life at that particular moment. And when it comes to a point where, as a believer, your understanding of what's right and wrong, you see, in other words, what it means is there'll be days when electing to work on a Sabbath can, not to work on a Sabbath can make you lose your job. But electing to go to work on a Sabbath can cost you your peace. There'll be days where going out with friends, if you don't go out with your friends, you end up losing your friends. But going with them, you can put your life in danger. So these are the decisions that we find ourselves boxed in sometimes. There's a whole lot, but I don't want to go through all of them. So there's a lot of decisions that you need to make. So in that particular moment, you need to find yourself making the right decision, standing bold in what you believe in. You don't need to decide. With Joseph, it wasn't a matter of deciding to say, if only you were not married, if only you were not Potiphar's wife, if only and only, but it was his outright refusal that stood out, that actually makes me love his character even more. So when there is a time you are stuck between choosing good and wrong, always side with the penalty of righteousness. And in other words, it is a matter of disappointing men, or if it's a matter of disappointing men or God, always let men get upset with you. And the truth is that when there is a penalty on both sides, you've got to side with the penalty of righteousness. And in other words, the penalty of righteousness is passing, but the penalty of wickedness is permanent. The cost of integrity should move you forward, but the cost of canceling integrity will keep you going in circles. And the thing I want to say to somebody today, when you can't see which way is the winning situation, just find out where God is standing. Because that's it, that's his business. To take us out of our temptation, to take us out of our tribulations, the things that we're facing, the situations that we feel like we cannot get out of. I have been in those situations where you feel like, no, I cannot do this. I don't see a way out. And please don't ask me, that time there was no time to decide the right way. I was deciding according to my feelings. But now getting to understand Joseph's story, it gives you courage, it gives you strength to actually decide on the right thing to do whilst you are in that situation. So Joseph recognized that he had God's favor in his life. God's favor was all over his life, that he was not scared of the decisions that he was making. He did not care about what he was, the consequences you're going to face by refusing to sleep with Potiphar's wife, all he cared was doing right by God and doing right by his master, who had actually favored him to put him in his house in charge of everything. The master didn't know what was going on in his house. Joseph knew that for him. So how then, I know in life we have people who are so ungrateful that no matter you can do good for them, but when an opportunity arises for them to think of themselves, they actually betray you. But with Joseph, it was a different situation. And I've heard countless discussions with people when it comes to characters like Joseph, where people stand up for what they believe in. And some have a belief that I think he refused because Potiphar's wife was not attractive enough, which is not true. If we are to look deeper, you get to understand that he was put in this situation and that by the devil, and that situation was actually tailor-made for him to fall, but he stood. So people say, no, but Potiphar's wife might have been old. She was attractive and all of it. She wasn't attractive and all of that. And I always say, I don't think that's the case. That lady was very attractive. And that's why it was put in the Bible, because we need to find out that as much as Joseph was refused to lay with Potiphar's wife, at the end of the day, Joseph was still a man. So he was bound to fall. He could have done that, but he did not. Let's not forget that Joseph is a person who went through life traumas from the betrayal that he got from his siblings because of the favor that he had with his father. He was thrown, he was sold into, they first wanted to kill him, knowing that your own blood wants to take your life is not an easy thing to live with, right? And then they decided otherwise to sell him. They sold him. He lived in slavery, whereas where he comes from, he was more or less like a prince because he had favor from his father. But he lived like a slave. But let's not forget that God's favor found him where he was. He took God's favor with him. That means God's favor is portable. It doesn't matter whether you are here in South Africa or wherever you are, God's favor is portable. So he was in a situation where he could have, after he's going through that, I know for a fact when people go through things in life, we adapt the I might as well syndrome, which is you might as well make a bad decision in the bad moment that you are in. But what people don't understand is that it's not the situation that you are in that makes things worse. It's the selection that you make in that particular moment that makes things worse for you. We look at Job. Job's wife, after everything that had happened to Job, Job's wife went to Job and said, you might as well curse your God and die. Right? Because they couldn't see a way out. So they just adapted the I might as well syndrome. We look at Judas Iscariot. I do believe that man, if he wanted to repent, he would have. It doesn't matter if Jesus had died and everything, because Jesus had actually died for him. But instead of repenting and making right with God, he chose to kill himself, choosing the I might as well syndrome by just dying and not repenting. So Joseph did not adapt to that. He didn't look at where he's coming from. He didn't look at what he has been through. He looked at the present moment. He looked up to God. Because in his sinking moment, in his boxed-in moment, he looked at where God was, and that's where he went. So when we look at this lesson, we just need to recognize that God's favor is with us all the time. I know sometimes life can be very tough. Life can give you situations where you feel like, I don't think I need to, I might as well just say, forgive me for this. People just end up saying, to hell with God. I might just do this just so that I can find relief and escape from what I'm going through. When you're over the edge and you end up just saying, I might as well do everything worse just because of what you're going through. So what this implies is that with Joseph, she went into, he became a target of Potiphar's wife's lust, right? It doesn't mean that Potiphar's wife, there were no other men in the land that would have satisfied her desires for Joseph. They were, but you must understand that it was Joseph's character that was standing out for her. You understand that it was not only the fact that Joseph is younger or anything, or that he has favor, but because Joseph's character spoke for him more than anything else. That's why he became even attractive to a wicked woman such as Potiphar's wife, right? So sometimes when we build in our characters, we need to build from inside out, not outside in, because your character is what makes the next person, not just to what you are, is what can attract people to God. Your character speaks for you, it attracts people to God. In our workspaces, how do we treat our colleagues? How do we speak to one another? At home, how do we treat each other? You find out that there are some families that they don't even speak, but people get up in the morning, wash and come to church. But you left at home and you didn't speak to your mother, your brother, or whoever that you left at home. So these characters and these attributes that Joseph had is what made him attractive, even to Potiphar, even to put him in a position where he needs to be in charge of his home. Mind you, Joseph was a foreigner in that house, right? So another thing that I just wanted to say in closing is that if anyone could say, to hell with God, it would have been Joseph because of what he's gone through. But he recognized that his favor comes from God. He recognized where he should be standing with God. So in all of us today, in closing today, I want to encourage us to always remember that no situation is too much for God. Remember, God does not give you things that He doesn't put situations in your way that you're not able to come out of. Everything you go through in life, be it experiencing death of a loved one, be it a financial strain, be it losing anything that's important to you, God has a plan for you. But in all of this, you just need to find out where God is standing, and then you'll be okay. May God bless the reading of His word.
Amen.
Amen, church.
Amen.
How do we respond to temptation? Are we going to be like Joseph, who said, how can I do this wicked thing and sin against God? Powerful.